I am planning on teaching you skills. You've learned some pencil skills. Now I'm going to teach you watercolor skills. Now I'm going to tell you, it takes patience, it takes time, it takes focus to get good at a skill. A lot of teachers don't teach skills. You're lucky. You have an opportunity to learn something that you will walk out of this classroom with and remember for the next 50 years, and maybe want to do some watercolor painting or pencil drawing. But these are skills, and skills take patience and practice. And I need all of you to remember that. Why? Because we live in this society where everything is instant. And instant fulfillment on your iPhone, instant fulfillment on the internet. And that's not the way skill building works. It is not instant. It doesn't take too long, but it takes patience. And I need some of you, or all of you, to have some patience in learning skills to do work like this. One and 1/2 inch, 1 and 1/2 inch, and then it gets really easy because all you do is go over about an inch, go up 1 inch, put a perspective point, connect the 3 corners of the box, just like this. Take the bottom of the ruler, line it up with the bottom of the paper, like this. Okay, and then give yourself a little length, because you're gonna have to go from dark to light. Same thing here, line it up on the edge of the paper, line. And now I just erased this part of it because we don't need that anymore. There we go. Exercise number 1 is going to be a box. Exercise number 2 is going to be a pyramid, 45-degree angle roughly. It doesn't have to be exact. Like this. Slant this line about 2/3 of the way, connect from the bottom, and I have a pyramid. Last shape is a cylinder. Let's move the paper over a little. Okay, this is really easy. Has to be round, or roundish, I will say. I come down with a line like this, come down with another line, and then it's just a curve like so. So, how do we do this? Well, we take the watercolors, we open it up. We get a 1/2 cup of water. 2 brushes, square 1/2 inch brush, and what's called a round brush. It's the larger of the round brushes. So watch. First of all, you never, ever paint on watercolor paper without first putting a thin sheen of water down. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now, have some tissues around, just in case. So, I'm just gonna go grab a box of tissues real fast. And here we go. So I put a little too much water down. So there we go. We just lighten that up a little. Okay. Only use dark colors. Please don't use yellow, bad color to learn with. Please don't use anything except red or dark blue. It's the best colors for learning. Step 1, we call this line. Now, I rinse my brush. And when I do this, I'm just going to show you real quickly. When I do this, I'll move the paper out of the way. Each time I take my fingers, let's see if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that well. And I squeeze out the water. Each time I do that. Okay, so now we'll bring back the paper. Now I did a line. Now I do what's called the spread. Now when you spread, just spread 2/3 of the way towards the white. You want that white to stay there. I rinse the brush, squeeze out the water with my fingers. Now I do what's called feathering. This is the most important part of the whole thing. So go from the top down, top down, top down. Turn it upside down, rinse my brush. I do that each time. I squeeze out the water, and I feather again. Remember, it's slightly wet. We're doing what's called creating a gradient. A gradient is when color goes very smoothly from dark to light. I'll flip it over one more time, rinse the brush, squeeze out the water out of the brush, and then I go and I feather one last time. Be really super gentle when you do this. Do not press with the brush. Super gentle. And that's a gradient going from dark to light. All right. That's pretty close to perfect, not quite perfect, but close enough. Now I take the round brush. Now when you do this, and I never do this during demonstrations because I don't usually have time, but when you do this, you go blow dry it. I have blow dryers in the classroom. You may have one at home if you do this at home, but you want to make sure that you blow dry. Now, let's see, is the water looks like it went slightly outside the line. So we're gonna dry that. We'll go back in. All right, now, I am gonna do again the exact same technique. The only difference is I'm using a round brush. And you see the way it's starting to leak in? That's mostly because I did not blow dry. I'm kind of glad it did that so you can see. I did the line, now do the spread. Now on the side, I spread maybe halfway. Okay, now rinse my brush, white my brush, just like I did the square brush. Start on the white side, up, down, up, down, up, down. And when I get on this side, I rinse the brush, I wipe the brush, and that's so, so important. So don't skip that. And halfway, I do another rinse because I want this to start to fade out. So I want to get rid of the color off of my brush. And I'm going to do one more, rinse, wipe. This looks too much like a line here. So I want to feather it just a little. I just accidentally went over the edge a little. That's okay. My bad. But you get the idea. Okay, and that's how you do a gradient using a round brush. Each time I go back, I wipe the brush. I rinse and I wipe the brush. I usually keep working this until it starts to feel pretty perfect. But you don't want to overwork it either. And if it gets too red on this side, you can always take a tissue and do what I just did now, and then have it fade out to white, because you want it to fade out to white. Exactly what I did here is what you're gonna do on the top. All right, now I'm gonna switch over to doing a cylinder. So watch. I wet the cylinder. Now my water's a little dirty. That's okay. It'll be fine. But I will tell you, the smart way to do this is definitely to rinse your cup out with fresh water with each shape you do. All right, now I'm gonna go back to my red. And I like red as a beginning color. It's a really good way to go. So I want to do a line. So I'm going to very carefully do my dark line like this. And then I'm going to spread. I rinse my brush. I wipe my brush. Now, I feel like I have a little too much water down there. So I'm going to just take the tissue, pull some up. I'm going to go wipe my brush again. There we go. That's my line. Spread. Rinse the brush, wipe the brush. Start on the white side. And start feathering. Now, just like that. Okay? And now I'm going to spin this around because I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side, but I don't want this to be a really, oops, there we go. I don't want this to be a really if you go outside the line by accident, like I just did, take a tissue, pull it up. This one may not come out perfect, but that's okay. So that's my line. Rinse the brush, wipe the brush, spread. Gently, when you spread gently, don't go very far. And then I'm going to take the brush. I'm going to start feathering. Now, this is the trickier one than the box because I want it to be kind of white in the center. For some reason, if it's not white enough in the center, you can just do this. Pull up the white like that. Go back in again. Start in the white area and feather. Feather over to here as well. Wet it a little. So I basically want the cylinder to be dark on both sides and light in the center. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna go one more time and just get it a little darker on the left side of the cylinder. Now, rinse my brush, wipe my brush, a little bit of feathering. Like so. Rinse my brush, wipe my brush. Don't forget that. That is like one of the most important things you can do. And now I feather. Close to perfect. I want you to do this as perfectly as you can. This is all about building hand control, brain-eye-hand coordination. Now, you blow dry this. Of course you blow dry this because you don't want things leaking together. But watch me. I'm going to run a line right along the back of the top of the cylinder. Actually, I'm going to do that twice so it's nice and dark. Rinse my round brush. Wipe my round brush with my fingers. There we go. And that's how you do it. And I got a little white spot there, so we'll just clean that up a little. There we go. I want it to be light down at the bottom, dark in the back of the cylinder. Eyelash shape, watch me. I take the round brush. Please don't use a square brush doing this. Be very, very difficult with a square brush. Wet the area. Once I got water floating across it, there we go, now it's floating. I take my red paint and I do a line. I rinse the brush, wipe the brush. I spread. And then I turn it this way so you can see it. I start on the white side with a clean brush. Up, down, up, down, up, down. All the way to the end. And then back. Now when I get around there, I rinse the brush and wipe the brush again. And now I want it to fade. So I'm going to gradually make it fade out. And I want to spread that just a little more, so I'm going to rinse the brush and wipe the brush one more time. There we go, perfect. Now remember, when you do this, go blow dry in between each section. It only takes maybe 30 seconds to blow dry. It's just a smart way to do it, because then you won't get any bleeding of color into places you don't want it to bleed. So I wet the area. I take the red, and now I'm gonna just do a really thin line, dark, thin line right here. Rinse the brush. Now I'm just going to spread this. I wipe the brush. Always wipe the brush. Don't forget that step. If you forget that step, you're pretty much going to have to do it over. Now, I want it to start turning white, so I'm going to rinse the brush again. Rinse the brush again. Sometimes you'll do it 4 or 5 times because I want it to be white here. Now, up, down, up, down, up, down. I go towards my line. Now, if you develop the ability to do this well, you can paint almost anything. This is half of the technique I'm teaching you. The other half is going to be what's called learning how to do a background wash. But if you learn how to do this well, you'll be an amazing watercolor artist, and anyone can be a good watercolor artist. It has very little to do with talent. It has everything to do with focus, concentration, and learning technique. Now, if I want it to get a little lighter here, it's a little too red for my tastes. I'll take a tissue, I'll pull it up, and I'll go one more time. That's why tissues are valuable. Please don't use paper towels. They're way too rough. And that's the lesson, okay? Is it perfect? Probably not. I went a drop out of my line there, but it's not bad. And I could maybe improve it even more. Let's see. We'll go slightly darker here. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Okay. And now spread. Now when I do the spread here, very little spread. Rinse the brush, wipe the brush, start at the top. Perfect. Okay, we'll call it a day with that one. Now you get the technique, go practice. This will easily take possibly 2 or 3 classes till you get really good at it, but it's worth every second.